All right, guys, and welcome back to the Off the Line podcast with me and Jamie.
Hello.
Shorter episode today.
Yeah.
We're both very, very upset.
Very angry.
Grr.
Grr.
I don't know if you can tell. I've been working this week. I've been up until late, so I'm not energetically angry. I'm very quietly angry. But we're talking about VAR today. VAR.
The bloody VAR.
Varsicle.
Oh, I like it.
Banter. No.
Funny banter.
We're gonna try and do a shorter episode today. We're basically just gonna sit here and moan about the state of football at the moment and
Yes.
talk about the different rules, talk about the things they should be changing, and talk about the things that are causing issues. You know, there were games at the weekend, this weekend, and last weekend that involved all three of the things we're going to talk about
Yeah.
this afternoon.
And also, guys, if you agree or disagree with anything we say, please leave a comment down below. We love the comments down there, and we reply to every single one of them. And also leave a like on the video if you want to. Right now, go on, scroll down. I'll see you there.
Do it.
I'll
Do
see
it.
you there.
Do it, or my cat will get epilepsy.
Yeah, and you don't want that to happen, do you?
No, I'll get really upset and I'll just I'll roll up into a ball and just shoot off like Sonic.
Yeah, I'm glad we're here. Right, should we talk about the bloody football?
Talk about bloody football and bloody VAR, the video assistant referees that are causing us so much jib in our lives.
And everyone, every weekend there seems to be an incident with VAR, with the rules. I think that's an important distinction to make before we even go into this, is that, VAR is to blame, but also the rules that it's enforcing is something that is a completely different kettle of fish, really, when it comes to VAR and what rules should be enforced or not. So we've got to make that clear early. But we've sort of got a brief running order of what we want to talk about. And I think the first one is the offside rule. It's sort of been forgotten, like how much of VAR has an effect on it now, because it's just sort of a part of the football game at this point.
Yeah.
Like I was watching the West Ham Leicester game on the weekend, and I was looking at Vardy's offside in the 90th minute, although it doesn't have a huge effect on the game, because obviously West Ham are the best team in the world, and we're going to talk about that on the Bosch tomorrow. But yeah, it's so marginal. It's millimeters, and you just think, when is the attacker going to get the benefit of the doubt in this situation?
Yeah. Well, my issue with it is that if you're a forward, your natural inclination, and this is the thing, the whole rule about VAR is being natural.
Yeah.
You have to be as natural as possible. Yeah. Everyone's got to be very natural.
Naturally robotic, yeah.
You've got to basically play football with your arms by your side. Yeah. You've got to run along like a little penguin and just completely give yourself over to what you have to behave like for the rules.
If you're starting to sprint, you can't put your head down. You obviously need to keep your head up, completely have perfect posture, and pump your legs as fast as you can without pumping your arms, and you've just got to run like that. The only thing that should be moving in your body is your legs. That's it.
Yeah, and even then, don't put them too far when you're running, because you will get caught offside if your left toe is over the line.
You need to tiptoe.
Yeah, yeah. Keep your feet completely vertical.
And still have 99 pace, but
No, we're talking. Look, we're being kind of satirical because it is completely ridiculous, and we both know it's completely ridiculous. Attackers can't even lean forward when they're trying to make runs anymore, because if their shoulder is over the line, then they get done for offside.
Yeah.
So attackers almost have to lean back, and if you're not one of the fast attackers in the Premier League, if you're, say, I can't think of one right now. I'm not a very fast person. So you're not a very fast. Ollie McBurney. So you're Ollie McBurney.
Oh, okay.
Andy Carroll. If you're Andy Carroll, you need to be able to have that extra yard or be able to lean to start your run. If you're stood rigid upwards, you can't then gain the pace you need. So my point is with the offside ruling, the fact that if it's your shoulder and it's down, it's making the game almost impossible for attackers who aren't unbelievably quick.
Yeah.
You can't see this affecting Aubameyang too much because there's not really many people quicker over 20 yards than him anyway.
Yeah, and I think he comes from a deeper position as well, so it's a little bit different.
It's making the game very difficult for attackers. And again, it's just the whole. This ties into a whole argument we're making over the course of all three of these things. Is it's just taken away from the spectacle of the game because you can't celebrate goals anymore because it could get dragged back because one of your players might have been like a toe offside.
Yeah. Like I know this is a poor memory for you, but obviously we were talking in the a couple of months ago now in the West Ham versus Chelsea game that happened where West Ham won, and obviously there was a goal. I didn't celebrate any of the goals.
Yeah,
because in the first half we had a goal disallowed from Soucek, who I think Antonio was he obstructing the view? Apparently, was that the ruling?
I can't even remember what the ruling is. I remember the goal. Antonio went down in the goal mouth, and then Soucek put it in, and then they said that Antonio was obstructing the keeper's view,
despite
or obstructing.
The fact he was on the floor. But that's a whole different situation. What I'm saying is, it's dead on what we're saying about like it's killing the spectacle, and Roy Hodgson was absolutely dead on in his interview the other week, last week against Everton. It's taken away from the enjoyment of the game, and I think a lot of people are feeling this way now. So, where does this end? What is the solution to this? And unfortunately, nobody knows that answer. Not us, not the FA, not IFAB, not the referees. Nobody knows the answer. But yeah. It's the offside. The offside. What I'll say finally on the subject, the offside rule is still like I think people forget about it. You have to be perfect. You have to be millimetre perfect onside. Otherwise, the goal gets completely ruled out. I can think of so many incidences last season, and it'll happen again this season. And the Vardy one is just the first example of it. And I'm sure there was others in different games as well, and there will be in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is something that's kind of been buried underneath the next one we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Obviously, with these are only really talked about when they're an issue, and that shouldn't be the way that this is being done. It shouldn't be the case of if this isn't actively causing a problem, we're not going to talk about how bad this rule is.
Yeah.
I think that's the case with offside at the moment because it has not been as
prevalent in the decision
controversial.
making,
It's not been as controversial as it was last year. Whether that's because there's just been, the amount of goals that have been going in this year, whether it's been actually dealt with better or whether it has just gone under the radar, we don't know.
Is it something that's been coached by the managers now to like they have to be inch perfect and they have to start sort of behind the defenders rather than in line with them? That's something that might have been coached, but yeah, go on.
But we're moving on to handball, and this is one that is has caused issues every single weekend.
Yeah.
There's been 144 goals in the Premier League so far this season, which is mental. It's just a stupid amount of goals. But
entertaining.
It is massively entertaining. But with the handball rule, you're starting to question whether it is because, how much of this is because defenders are worried about defending properly. You've got goals going in left, right and centre, and I understand it's probably a very small proportion of defenders that feel like this, but if you're Eric Dyer or if you're Joel Ward now, you've suddenly got to be very aware of how you're defending and where your arms are all the time. You obviously put the rules in. You didn't put the rules in. You put the rules in. So we have
I wish I put the rules in. I'd have done it right, Sam.
You put the rules. We have a little chat to refer to. When we want to kind of recite different research we've done. Because today we've actually done a little bit of research.
Wow, look at us.
But essentially what this says is that the natural position, handballs will only be given handballs will always be given if the ball strikes an opponent's arm if his hand is in an unnatural position.
Yeah.
So if it's locked in, so the only way defenders cannot take a handball is if their arms are literally jammed into their side.
Yeah.
Like
and
completely
it hits them
jammed
above
into their...
the bottom of the armpit line, which is the t-shirt a hemline. But yeah, I'm going to recite this word for word because it needs to be IFAB, so the International Football Association Board. I think they govern the rules for football in the UK and Ireland, and they've said an amendment to the handball rule they made was ensuring that accidental handball would only be punished if it occurs immediately before a goal was scored, and an emphasis on immediately, because nobody knows what immediately means. Does it mean, to Sam, we're having a brief chat about this beforehand, does it mean the goal? Does it mean the assist? Does it mean the pass to the assist? Where in the play does immediately stop and end? And that's something that they need to make clearer, because again, with these rules, it's just vague the whole time. And the handball rule is if the ball strikes a player who has made their body unnaturally bigger, then they will be punished. There's just so many contradictions within the rule, because it's like IFAB also deems that an arm above shoulder height is rarely, if ever, a natural position, with the only exception coming when a player is falling to the ground. Where are you supposed to put your arms now? I felt really sorry for Eric Dyer, because technically in the rules it's a handball, because his arms are above his shoulder.
Yeah,
but
and we want to make clear we're not with this episode. This is not a rant specifically about VAR and what VAR does, and VAR as a concept of using video to achieve refereeing decisions. We're not against that. We like that idea because it will better football. What we're saying is that the rules are not suited to VAR because they're too strict, and they're creating too much of an issue. And they've also taken out the element of human error and taken out the spectacle of football. Football is entertaining and football is exciting because it's simple.
Yeah.
And because it used to be, if there was a handball decision to be made by a referee on the field, it was done in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
He either gave it or he didn't, and that was it.
Yeah.
Or he went and spoke to his linesman, and it was 20 seconds, and the linesman gave it. That was what football used to be. Now, so you knew where you stood. If your team scored and the flag didn't go up, or the referee didn't blow his whistle, you'd scored a goal.
And
now,
you can celebrate.
Yeah, and like some of the best moments of my life have happened in football stadiums. You know, I've watched Chelsea win the Champions League, I've watched Chelsea win the Premier League, I've watched Chelsea win the FA Cup, I've watched Chelsea win the League Cup, I've watched Chelsea win the Europa League. Lambo's watched West Ham win a Champions League playoff final. Yeah, you've watched West Ham win a Championship playoff final. Yeah. But with the nature of football, you're going to have goalmouth scrambles, and you're going to have balls pinging around in the area. And the issue is now, when you see a ball pinging around in the area, then it gets smashed in, you're going to be worried because it might have hit someone's arm, or it might have hit someone who's offside.
Yeah,
you can't go mental unless you watch a goal that is completely, unequivocally not against the rules, and you know that. So if it's a free kick or it's a shot from outside the area, you know that you can celebrate because there's nothing they can disallow it for.
Yeah.
But if it is in the area, like corners and indirect free kicks and balls into the box, you haven't got a clue. And it's ruining the spectacle of the game because it's making everything so conditional, especially with the handball rule. Yeah. Because, if you're...
We're lost for words about it.
We are, and it's a massive shame.
It's so difficult because you talk about natural positions, and as far as I'm concerned, the Eric Dyer handball, the Joel Ward handball, they were both in natural positions. I think that's right. So
yeah, they were.
What is all this stuff? Because obviously the Mopai handball against Man United, fair enough, that's a handball. He's got his arms up and it's raised up. It's so confusing, and I don't get it, and it just makes defenders second guess themselves the entire time as well. You've got to run, and when you're near a cross, you've got to have the only parts of your arms that should be showing is your t-shirt, the top of your t-shirt, because then it's not a handball, and then that leaves and football is all about small margins, as it is. it's threading the eye of a needle with a through ball, or getting the perfect cross in, and if it, and you just sort of, it is becoming like a robot football league, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
There's no room for human error anymore on the part of the referees, but also the players. They've got to be subhuman to get these rules perfectly. And
yeah,
I just think it's bloody terrible. And because VAR, as you said before, it's a concept that we agree with. But the thing is, it's clear and obvious errors. Isn't that the whole mantra of VAR? That it's clear and obvious.
They've introduced this. I said this on the Bosch last week. It's clear and obvious errors, and they've introduced this to eliminate 95% of refereeing errors.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be even having... If that was being, correctly processed and correctly done, we should not be having to have this conversation.
Yeah.
If they had met their quota. In practice, some people would say that, in theory, communism works. In theory, at its base level. But in practice, that, causes a few issues.
Ruffles a few feathers.
So... I'm not going to compare VAR to communism because it's two very different concepts. But
you'd only find that on here as well. Sam going into how communism and VAR is similar. Oh my god. I love this game.
I love this. But that's the thing. We love it. And we do love football. And we're watching football now, worrying about refereeing decisions instead of just watching it for the spectacle of the game.
It.
And that's travesty.
The referee's almost one of the most important people on the pitch, and I think that's not the way football should be played.
No, and you're also taking the power away from the referee on the pitch in a sense, because he can give something, and then someone in a room. If you're in Newcastle, this is a room 300 miles south. Someone in a room there can just give something else.
Yeah,
and it's. Graham Souness was talking about... I think our final point about handball is Graham Souness was talking about... I watched the punditry on the Liverpool game at half-time. Not the Liverpool game, the United game at half-time. And obviously United were 4-1 down at this point, and it was a really bad day at the office for them, and we are not going to sit here and try and claim that this handball, completely killed the game for them.
Yeah.
But Graham Souness was talking about the nature of diving and how that came into football, because obviously with the Lamela one, when are we going to get to a point where defenders are actually having the ball kicked at their arms by attackers in order to try and win a penalty? When does this become the new diving?
Yeah,
the next unsportsmanlike.
Yeah, it's unsportsmanlike, but it's in the rules, and that's the thing.
That's the issue.
It's got to be worried about.
Yeah. Because attackers can do this intentionally and we'll get the benefit of the doubt and we'll get the penalties for it. Because if the defender's got his arm literally half a foot off his body and it hits it, then it's an unnatural position and he has to give the penalty. Yeah. So when does it end? Where do we draw the bloody line?
Yeah, and it needs to change. It can't change this season though, which is the issue. It's just an interpretation of those rules. Which the Premier League is taking. So I think it needs to be as lenient as possible in its interpretation. But whether that happens or not is another discussion. But anyway, the last one we wanted to talk about, I think, was the violent conduct rule, because there was obviously a lot of hoo-ha surrounding the Eric Lamela, Anthony Martial incident that happened on the weekend as well. And I think, again, it's a testament to the lack of consistency and how vague the rules are that are being enforced with the violent conduct rule. So Eric Lamela raises his arm up and hits Martial in the neck, which I think personally would be considered part of the head or face, which is in the rule.
Yeah.
So go on.
Do you want me to just read out the rule?
Read out the rule. Yeah.
It's violent conduct, apparently, according to the FA. So I've got this off the FA's website. The violent conduct is when a player uses or attempts to use excessive force or brutality against an opponent.
Yeah.
In addition, a player who, when not challenging for the ball, deliberately strikes an opponent or any other person on the head or face with their hand or arm is guilty of violent conduct unless the force used was negligible. Yeah. So
as far as I'm concerned, Eric Lamela should be sent off for violent conduct.
Yeah. The issue, to play devil's advocate, I'm reading that rule and it says head or face. So if a player, you say, were to turn around and punch someone in the neck, now why you can say the neck should be included in that in the
middle of a football match.
Well, no, but in the words of the rule, it's not the head or face. And this is our issue with this, is that they're just too vague. They should be more detailed and say that. Because, I mean, what, you just punch someone in the chest or you punch someone in the arm? I mean, obviously you get, then does that get considered as violent conduct? Now, it's when a player attempts to use excessive force or brutality against an opponent. Now, what happened on Sunday was very Latin and very theatrical.
Yeah.
And very, Lamela hasn't hit Martial hard enough for it to be considered excessive force.
Yeah, that is true.
Martial has actually stayed on his feet. And you've got to use this argument. If Martial had grabbed his throat and fallen over, would Lamela have got sent off?
Yeah. But
you've got to understand this is the issue,
Yeah, if Lamela grabs Martial's throat or neck or whatever, and Martial doesn't retaliate but he falls on the floor, does that mean Lamela gets a red card? If it's an isolated incident in itself, Lamela should be getting a red card, no? Isn't that in the rules?
I think it is.
But because Martial retaliates and raises his arm to Lamela, he gets a red card and he's the only one who gets a red card. It makes no sense. And I think now you can just get away. If you just, tap someone on the neck, tap someone on the face, give them a little slap, and then they retaliate back and do the same thing, does that mean they get sent off? And when is it going to start, like, people trying to just get a reaction out of the good players on the team when they're having a bad day or something?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's exactly what's happened. They've played it perfectly, and Spurs and United are down to 10 men in a game that is important for them, and they've lost their one of the focal points of their attack, which makes the game so much easier for Spurs. And I just think it's not fair at all. And the rules need to be changed or explained better and made more concise.
Look, in my opinion, I don't think it's a red card for either player.
Yeah, or yellow.
I think what should happen in that situation, and what probably would have happened in that situation before VAR, was the ref would have gone over, had seen the two of them tussling, would have said, right, don't do that again. I've seen what you've both done. Seen that neither player is actually injured, and just gone, right. Probably booked them both. And then just left it at that. But because VAR's seen it, and the guy at Stockley Park's been able to watch 15 replays in slow motion.
Yeah.
And seen Lamela go down clutching his flipping. I mean, if you're not going to send Lamela off, book him for diving.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he got booked for... I can't remember what he got booked for. He did get booked afterwards. But it's just... I think he got booked for the elbow.
Yeah.
Which is just... And what Martial had done was literally he brushed him in the face. He brushed his face. Yeah. Lamela's elbowed him in the neck. Martial's just retaliated by putting his hand on Lamela's face. Lamela's gone down like he's been shot.
Yeah. And that's football. That's football at the moment.
We'll talk. It's awful. It's awful. And we're very upset about it. And it
ruins the flow of the game, ruins the spectacle of the game. And I think that's the main thing that everyone's upset about.
Yeah, is that we can't watch football the way we used to be able to watch football.
Yeah.
And when I say we used to be able to watch football, I mean 3 seasons ago used to be able to watch football.
Yeah.
It's ruining the last minute goal moments and the when you see a goal go in, you're just jumping around, grabbing whoever you can grab and screaming. That doesn't happen anymore. Yeah. Or it's not.
That feeling of when your goal gets ruled out because of VAR is crushing. And I can imagine, and in important situations in matches, that needs to be stamped out. It really does.
And I said this on the Bosch last week when we were talking about the power rankings. I'll leave everyone with a kind of thought. Say at the end of this year, it's us and Liverpool and City going for the title, and it comes down to the last game of the day, and it's a case of if Liverpool get a point, they win the league. If we win, we win the league, and if City win, whatever. Say Liverpool are 2-1 down in the last minute. We've won 3-0 in our game, and the ball comes in and hits the opposition defender on their arm when it's half a foot away from their body.
Mm.
And they have no choice but to give a penalty. And Liverpool score their penalty and win the league. Now, we are now talking about massive, massive amounts of money to football clubs. Even if you're talking about this in a relegation standpoint.
Well, you think Bournemouth last season and the Aston Villa Sheffield goal line technology debacle. Bournemouth go down by a point, and you think, how's that happened? Because if the Sheffield goal goes in and Aston Villa don't get a point from that game, Bournemouth have a better goal difference and they stay up in the Prem.
I was going to say this is like, with the situation at the moment with COVID, this is like life and death for football clubs.
Yeah,
we're talking about that could be decided by bad rulings.
Yeah,
obviously bad rulings and a bad system. And when that happens, there'll be serious issues. If that happens at the end of the year and the league is decided by a dodgy decision, or if relegation is decided by a really dodgy decision on the last day of the season, there will be uproar from football clubs.
Yeah. So
anyway,
it needs to change. But yeah, that's all
awful.
We've sort of got to say on the matter. I'm sure there'll be another thing soon where a poor decision's been made and we're going to have to talk about it again. So this might be the big fat VAR rant number one. There could be number 2, 3, 4, 5. But we'll see. It's football and it's exciting. But it should be staying exciting and staying a spectacle. Otherwise, it's going to kill viewership and it's going to kill people's enjoyment of the game.
Yeah,
and that's
definitely
what we'll end on, I think.
Okay. Gents, it's been a pleasure. If you agree with everything we said, as per usual, just drop us a DM or leave a comment or whatever. Just interact with us somehow, because we love hearing from you guys.
Yeah.
We're going to try and get kind of a shorter one and a longer one out most weeks, because we know you boys are busy and we know you want to hear us talk, but you haven't got the time to sit down for 45 minutes with the Bosch.
We're going to do a Bosch tomorrow, aren't we? And
we'll do a Bosch tomorrow. That should be out Friday.
Yeah.
And we love you all.
Yeah.
We will talk to you.
Leave a like on the video.
Talk to you soon. In a bit, boys. In a bit.
Cheers. Bye.